Okay. In the last class, we have discussed about decomposition. Okay, the decomposition occurs at a different stages. Okay, like a fragmentation, leaching, catabolism, humification, and mineralization. Okay, when you observe the decomposition process is a oxygen requiring process. So are the other factors that will determine means the temperature and moisture. If the conditions are warm and moist, the rate of decomposition process will be high. Okay, and okay, that is, and next, if the temperature is low and moisture content is less, the rate of decomposition will be lower. And under anaerobic conditions also, the decomposition process will be slows down. So these are some of the factors which will affect the process of decomposition. Okay. Next, okay, and the third concept related to the ecosystem, the components of ecosystem is energy flow. Okay, that is, except for the deep sea hydrothermal ecosystem. Okay, except for the deep sea hydrothermal ecosystem, sun is the only source of energy for all ecosystems on Earth. Except sea, okay, deep sea hydrothermal, that means at the bottom of the sea where light cannot penetrate. Okay, there the heat that is produced at the bottom of the sea, which we are calling it as deep sea hydrothermal. Okay, except that ecosystem, remaining all other ecosystems that are present on the Earth, the source of energy is the sun. Okay, when you observe here of the incident solar radiation, less than 50% of it is a photosynthetically active radiation. That is PAR, that is photosynthetically active radiation. Okay, among the incident line, that means among the light that is entered into the Earth's surface. Okay, that is reached the Earth's surface. Of that, only 50% of the light is a photosynthetically active radiation. That is, we can say, the visible light. Visible light. Okay, the visible light is only 50% of the total sun radiation that is reaching the Earth's surface. Okay, we know that the plants and the photosynthetic bacteria, okay, which are considered as autotrophs, fix sun radiant energy to make food from simple inorganic materials like carbon dioxide, water, and by using different minerals. Okay, by using all these components, by using sun as the primary source of energy, okay, that is the radiant energy, they are fixing the inorganic molecules, are converting the inorganic molecules into organic molecules. Okay, that is the plants and photosynthetic bacteria. That is, we can also say like a cyanobacteria. Okay, plants capture only 2 to 10% of the power. That means out of the 50% of the light that is having the photosynthetically active radiation. In that photosynthetically active radiation, only 2 to 10% only absorbed by the plants. Okay, 2 to 10% of the power, and this small amount of energy sustains the entire living world. That 2 to 10%, 2 to 10% radiant energy that is absorbed by the plants, that is absorbed by the plants, is the only energy that is helping the all the organisms that are present in this world to sustain. They are able to live. So it is very important to know how the solar energy captured by the plants flows through different organisms of an ecosystem. So whatever the energy is trapped by the plants from the sunlight, okay, how this energy is getting transferred through different organisms from one trophic level to another trophic level in an ecosystem, which we are simply called as energy flow. Okay, how this energy is flowing from one trophic level to another trophic level between different organisms. Okay, that is what we have to study here. All organisms are dependent for their food on producers. So whatever the, okay, all the organisms are depending for food material on plants, either directly or indirectly. Either directly or indirectly. All organisms are depending, okay, dependent for their food on producers, either directly or indirectly. That means if the herbivore, if you take herbivores, herbivores will directly feed on plants and obtain the energy. But when you observe the carnivores, carnivores will feed on herbivores, which are depending upon plants for food material. So here the carnivores are also depending upon plant, but indirectly, because without plants, no herbivores. Without herbivores, no carnivores. So that's why we are saying all the organisms that are present on the earth are depending upon plants for food, either directly or indirectly. So you find a unidirectional of energy from the sun to producers and then to consumer. So when you observe this energy flow, the energy flow is always unidirectional from higher trophic, okay, from lower trophic level to, sorry, from lower trophic level to higher trophic levels. That is from plants to consumers. There is from plants to herbivores and herbivores to carnivores. Or we can say producers, primary consumers and secondary consumers, secondary, okay, second, okay, tertiary consumers, so on. So here the always the energy is transferring in only one direction from one trophic level to another trophic level. And that is, we say, the energy flow in an ecosystem is unidirectional, always from producers to consumers, never from consumers to producers. The energy here we are saying. So is this in keeping with the first law of thermodynamics? So when you observe here, what is the first law of thermodynamics? Anybody knows? Can you say what is the first law of thermodynamics? Can you say, anybody?
What, sir?
What is the first law of thermodynamics? Okay, what this first law of thermodynamics is stating that okay, that is law of conservation of energy. That is what this law is stating. That means okay, energy neither be created nor destroyed. Okay, it will changes from one form to another form. Okay, that is okay, that means energy. Okay, we can see here the radiant energy is present in the sun. That energy which is okay obtained from the sun, the radiant energy, is converted into chemical energy by the plants in the form of organic substance. Okay, and this organic substance which is present in the plants will be used to perform certain metabolic activities, and some amount of energy will be stored. Some amount of chemical energy will be stored. We say gross primary productivity minus respiration, that will give the net primary productivity. That net primary productivity is the energy which is made available to the next trophic level. That means all the chemical energy is not getting transmitted. Some amount of energy is converted into some amount, okay, like okay, converted into ATP and used for metabolic activities, and some energy is lost into the atmosphere in the form of heat, okay, which is released during different metabolic activities. That means here the total energy is conserved. That means the total energy is not lost, but it is changing from one form to another form. Okay, that is what this first law of thermodynamics. It is very clearly explained in the unidirectional flow of energy from one trophic level to another trophic level. And next, further ecosystems. Okay, further ecosystems are not exempt from the second law of thermodynamics. That is, they need a constant supply of energy to synthesize the molecules they require to counteract the universal tendency toward increasing disorderliness. Okay, when you observe here, okay, while we are studying biomolecules in +1, okay, we already said never equilibrium attains in a cell. If equilibrium is attained in a cell, it will die. No more further activities. That means from this, what we came to understand, that means always certain metabolic activities are taking place in which one chemical substance is converted into another chemical substance, depending upon the requirement of that organism. So it will not be reaching the equilibrium in any living organism. No equilibrium state is obtained. Okay, that means continuously certain biochemical reactions has to occur. Continuously the energy should be utilized, and sometimes it might be synthesized. Then only the that system is able to work. So for example, if that is okay, to explain this second law in physics, you might have considered, okay, taken into example. For example, a object is there. Okay, an object is there which is in stationary condition. Okay, for example, if you want to keep that object continuously in a motion, what we have to do?
You want to restrict external forces.
Okay, that means continuously we have to supply certain energy. Understand? When you continuously supply certain an external energy, then only that object will be continuously in a motion. The same principle that we are applying here. That means if the cell has to be in living condition, or if any metabolic activity has to be occurred, continuous supply of energy is required. That is the second law of thermodynamics. So that means in a living system, we'll find both the first law of thermodynamics and the second law of thermodynamics. Okay, that is. And next, the green plants in the ecosystem are producers because they are producing the chemical energy by using the radiant energy from the sun. That's why they are called as the producers, because they can able to perform photosynthesis and convert the radiant energy into chemical energy. That's why the green plant in the ecosystem are called producers. Okay, that one we'll discuss later, ma. Okay, about omnivores. We'll go. Okay, now we are going with producers. Slowly we'll discuss about all those ones. Wait. Okay, omnivores are also consumers only. No, they are not exception. They are also the type of consumers only. Which type of consumers? That one we'll discuss later. Okay, na? They are not producers. No, definitely they are not producers. Omnivores are not producers. Here discussing first about producers. Later we'll go with consumers and the types of consumers. Okay, the green plant in the ecosystem are called producers. In a terrestrial ecosystem, major producers are herbaceous and woody plants. Okay, if you take a terrestrial ecosystem, because the types of organisms will vary from one ecosystem to another ecosystem. In aquatic ecosystem, it will be different. In temperate ecosystem, in tropical ecosystem, or in desert ecosystem, we'll find different ones. Okay, here we are taking a typical terrestrial ecosystem, that is say forest. Okay, so in the typical terrestrial ecosystem, say forest, what are the major producers? Means we'll find herbaceous and woody, the large trees in forest, no, and some small plants. Small plants like herbaceous plants will also be there. So these herbaceous and woody plants will form the major producers in the. Okay, we are not saying that other plants are not present. They are present, but here we are saying major. That means major part of that. It means okay, more number of producers are herbaceous and woody plants will form the producers in the terrestrial ecosystem. But when you take the aquatic ecosystem, likewise, the producers in the aquatic ecosystem are various species like phytoplanktons. That means the major producers of the aquatic ecosystem are phytoplankton, that is unicellular plants or microscopic plants. Phytoplanktons, algae, and higher plants. Okay, phytoplankton, algae, and higher plants. Okay, these are the producers of aquatic ecosystem. Phytoplanktons, algae, and higher plants. Some are present now. Okay, free floating, submerged, and marginal plants. Okay, which will grow on the shore, very near the shallow regions of the pond or a lake or some other aquatic ecosystem. Okay, So there is, so here we'll find the difference in the producers from terrestrial to aquatic ecosystem. And next, okay, you have read about the food chains and webs that exist in nature. That means already in your lower class, okay, that is in 10th class, you might have studied about this food chains and food webs. Okay, okay, when you observe the food chain, usually the food chain starts with the producers. Okay, some exceptions are there, that one we'll discuss later. A few exceptions are there where the food chain may start with some other components also. Okay, here, okay, in most of the ecosystems or in most of the food chains or food webs, okay, the starting points means the producers, that is the plants. Okay, starting from the plants are producers. Food chains are rather, okay, webs are formed such that an animal feeds on a plant or on another animal, and in turn is food for another. So the food chain starts with the plants, okay, and next it is followed by another animal which will feed on these plants, and that is followed by another animal which will feed on this animal, okay, and so on. That means another animal which will feed on the second animal, like that, so on, the food chain will grow on. Okay, all this linear arrangement of different organisms in a chain, depending upon their food availability, we are calling it as the food chain. This linear arrangement, the linear arrangement of the energy flow in an ecosystem from one organism to another organism, we are calling it as the food chain. Okay, if it is arranged in a linear manner, but such a linear food chains are usually do not exist in nature. Okay, such a linear food chains usually does not exist in nature. Why? Because due to the presence of because an omnivore, when it feeds on grains, it is considered as a herbivore. But the same organism, it can also feed on insects also. For example, if you take a bird like crow, which is an omnivore, it will feed on grains. So at that time, it is considered as a herbivore. And it also feeds on insects. At that time, it is considered as a carnivore, the insect which will feed on plant material. So we say, so in that case, how we can place a linear? So the such a linear arrangement we can't do. So this arrangement of different organisms, we are using another term called food web. So, okay, omnivores usually we do not include in a food chain because of their feeding habit. Okay, if we are using omnivore, we have to represent in the form of food web. Okay, a network. Okay, it will looks like a network because change in their feeding habits. So that's okay. So the chain or web is formed because of the interdependency Okay, that means whether the whether we have to form the food chain or food web depends upon the interdependency of one organism with the another organism. So if it is if the energy is taking place in a linear manner with all the trophic levels transferring from one trophic level to another trophic level, the energy, then we can represent in the form of food chain. But okay, if it is transferred in the form of a net, that means because of the presence of the omnivores, then we have to represent in the form of food web. So we can see here, so no energy that is trapped into an organism remains it forever. So whatever the energy that is trapped in one organism will never stay completely with that organism. It will be transferred in one way or other way. Okay, that is, so you can see here the energy trapped by the producer, hence it is either passed on to the consumer or the organism dies, decomposed. It will not remain constantly forever. Okay, if it is consumed by the another trophic, okay, another organism of the next trophic level, it is transferred. Or if it is not consumed, it will die, it will undergo decomposition. So the death of organism is the beginning of detritus food chain or food web. So here there is another food chain which starts with the dead and decaying organic matter. Such a food chain which starts with the dead and decaying organisms which are feeding on a dead and decaying organic matter. Such a type of food chain we are calling it as a detritus food chain. Okay, if the food chain starts with the producers followed by the consumers, then such a type of food chain we are calling it as a grazing food chain. Such a type of food chain we call it as a grazing food chain. Whereas if the food chain is starting with the organisms that are depending on dead and decaying organic matter, then such a food chain we call it as a detritus food chain. Okay, before only I said, okay, some food chain starts with producers and some food chain starts with some other. One example is the detritus food chain. Detritus food chain is a food chain which starts with the organisms. Here we have to take into consideration organism, not the dead and decaying organic matter. The organism which feeds on dead and decaying organic matter. For example, if you take earthworm, okay, it is undergoing fragmentation. Okay, it will feed on the dead and decaying organic matter. So here the earthworm is considered as a organism of the starting point for a detritus food chain. So that is okay, such a type of food chain we are calling it as a detritus food chain. And next, all animals depend on plants for their food needs, either directly or indirectly. Already we said very clearly, all animals depend on plants directly or indirectly for their needs. They are hence called consumers, are also called, as they are depending upon other organisms for food material, we are calling it as a hetero. Other means hetero. Troughs means a food material. As they are depending upon other organisms for food material, we are calling them as a heterotrophs. Or we can also call them as a consumer. Okay, if they feed on producers, the plants they are called primary consumers. That means those organisms which directly depend upon plants for energy. Those animals, we are calling it as primary consumers. Okay, and if so, and if the animals which in turn eat the plants or they produce, they are called secondary consumers. Okay, okay, if you take another, okay, those organisms which depend upon another animal which feeds on plants, then this second animal we are calling it as a secondary consumer. The first animal which is feeding on plants, we are calling it as a primary consumer. Okay, in other terms, we can also call it as herbivore. You can call it as a herbivore also, because it is completely depending upon plant for energy. And the second animal which is a feeding on, which in turn depends upon plants for food material. That second animal we are calling it as secondary consumer, which we can also call it as primary carnivore. We can call it as a primary carnivore. So secondary consumers are primary carnivores. Likewise, you could, okay, you could have tertiary consumer too. Okay, tertiary consumer too. Obviously, the primary consumers will be herbivores, and some common herbivores are insects. Insects which will feed on plants. Okay, and next birds which will feed on plant materials, and mammals, that is herbivorous animals like okay, cow, goat, sheep, elephant, deer. Okay, these are all mammals in terrestrial ecosystem. And molluscans in aquatic ecosystem. Molluscans, small fishes. Okay, some fishes which are herbivorous. All they comes under this herbivores. Okay, and next you can see here, the consumers that feed on these herbivores are carnivores, or more correctly primary carnivores. That means those animals which will directly feed on herbivores. We are calling it as a primary carnivores. Through second, okay, those secondary consumers. Okay, they are otherwise called as secondary consumers. Those animals that depend upon primary carnivores for food are labeled as secondary carnivores or tertiary consumers. So here, okay, we can see here, okay, the primary, okay, that the primary, okay, the primary carnivores, that means herbivores, the animals which will feed on herbivores directly. That means the animals which will feed on plants directly. The animals which will feed on any other animal which will feed on plants directly. Those are considered as the primary carnivore, which are also called as the secondary consumers. And those animals which will feed on these primary consumers, sorry, primary carnivores or secondary consumers. They are designated as the primary carnivores or secondary carnivores or tertiary consumers. Okay, that is okay. These are the some of the concepts related to food chain and energy flow. Okay, the remaining part will continue in the next class. Anybody is having any doubt?
No, sir.
Okay.